Jesse, pretty good game. Would you characterize this as a big win?
Yeah, I would. I think the 34,000 that were here, and that's a real number. This place was pretty packed. I imagine the Cubs were happy to get the Dodgers on a Friday afternoon in April because it was jammed where normally you might get half of that with the weather that it is. Now it is sunny, but still in the 40s. But it was pretty electric. I mean, it was as good an atmosphere for an April game that I can remember. Certainly, maybe going back to the World Series team. So 34,000 here. Everyone snapping shots of Ohtani. I went down and watched from the stands for his first at bat. He's on the on-deck circle, and everybody's snapping pictures. So it's just some electricity here. And then the Cubs come out and put up 9, and they needed every bit of that because the Dodgers' offense is awesome. And the fact of the matter is you are checking games off against the Rangers and the Dodgers. You're going to put them in your rearview mirror and, move on to hopefully some easier teams like the Rockies. So, yeah, every win against these good teams is big. You missed the playoffs by 1 game last year, and you're not projected to be a 100-win team. Or maybe they will be, but, common sense says every one of these wins is going to be important because they're kind of in the 85 to 90 range, and that could be a lot of teams in the National League. So certainly it's a big win, and it's a confidence boost again at the plate. That is the story of the Cubs in the first week. What they're doing at the plate is 2016-ish, maybe even better when you consider it's been 32, 45, 43 degrees this week, and they keep putting up big numbers.
You said 2016. Jesse said 2016-ish.
At least in the first week of the season. You may have seen this stat I tweeted out. First time since 2019, they've scored 9 or more runs in 3 straight games. I would have thought they would have done that somewhere along the line. But, okay, 2019. But that happened in September. This is 3 games where I'm bundled up like I'm going skiing, for God's sake. and I'm in the warm press box. So completely, totally impressed by what's going on at the plate.
And Jesse, I know there are a lot of baseball analytic people who believe that there is no such thing as momentum in baseball. I believe when you have a young team, though, and you start doing stuff early, that it is contagious. And some of these young players do get some mojo going. So I think it is important to do this early against some good teams.
Yeah, whether it's momentum or not, I think we can all agree with this. Whether things are going well or the opposite, it allows you to relax when things are going well and just play the game. When things aren't going well, you start to squeeze the bats. We've seen this, forever in baseball, right? It's such a mental game, and if your teammates are picking you up, you're going to relax even more. So this line has become deep. It's been a 2-year process. It kind of started last year. You think of Ian Happ. You guys mentioned him. He's kind of like a fully formed leadoff guy now. Remember, he wasn't this on-base threat that he's become. He's turned into one. 323 on base in 2021. That jumped to 342 in 22. 360 last year. He's at 500 right now. He's a true on-base threat. So you love him at the top of the lineup. Suzuki is now almost fully formed. Morel is taking that step. And then they apparently made a great trade with the Dodgers for Michael Busch. I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of minor league players. The Cubs pointed him out. He comes up with a big home run today and a huge play to end the game. So everything kind of fall into place very early in the season. I think that's the surprise. Usually it takes a little bit of time, especially on offense.
All right, it's my turn to play the role of wet blanket. Is this more of the same from Kyle Hendricks, and is this kind of what you've resigned yourself to seeing more times than not with where he is in his career, Jess?
I think the short answer is yes, but there's a however. First game against the World Series champions, second game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Let's give him a little bit of a break. I was looking at his numbers. He had a career 5 ERA going in against the Dodgers. You look at his division numbers, much better. When he gets to know an opponent, and not a surprise because he's such a smart pitcher, I think he'll be better against the Brewers of the world, the Reds of the world. So, look, he's a true 3 at best, closer to a 4. I don't know, maybe a 5, depending on how many home runs he gives up. So the short answer is yes, but not unexpected. They're not counting on him to be a 1, 2, or 3 necessarily. Maybe they are without Steele this first month, but I think we all agree he's closer to a 4 than anything else. And yes, the long ball is going to bite him. He said he made a good pitch in Ohtani on the first at-bat. He still doubled off him. He made some great pitches to get him out on the second at-bat, and then he just completely made a bad pitch on the third at-bat, and he hit a home run off him. And that's Kyle now. If he misses in the zone, it's going to get hit a long way, where Kyle of 16, 17, 18, if he missed in the zone, he might be able to get away with it.
Hey, Jess, I know it's early, but I would ask you, is there any significant difference you see with how things are being done with Craig Counsell versus David Ross being at the top step of the dugout the last couple of years?
Yeah, I'm going to say not significant. And if it happens, it's going to happen over time. It's going to be the little things that I see over time. Certainly one thing that we all might see is bullpen management. He's, good at that. He's one of the best. I mean, they all make mistakes, but I think he's so detail-oriented, it'll come out over time. But nothing right now. I even tweeted this to someone that asked me about it. Like, I'm not giving Counsell the credit for the offensive surge here, right? Again, I said this was planted last year. Remember, it was Ross that sat down Suzuki in August, and he's been on fire since then. I think it's just been a 2-year process, and now we're seeing some guys, maybe getting closer to their peak. So I think it's just an overall thing. It's not a specific thing, but I do think over time how he manages that bullpen will be impressive. I'm assuming, because I've seen it, but he had Hader, he had Devin Williams, he had a couple of the best up there. So let's just see it play out. But I wouldn't say there's anything too significant. There could be some things behind the scenes that I don't see. I'm sure we'll hear about them over time.
Jesse, you know me. I've always been more pro Madrigal than most. But again, I think he's showing his worth. His defense at third is truly overlooked in this town. I think it's been great to start the season. He's off to a good start with the bat. Who knows? Another hamstring injury could be around the corner. Another slump could be around the corner. But I really think he's got value to this team, at least on the roster.
Yeah, I got to say I was wrong about it. Like, how many times did I tell you there's no place for him going back to last year? They're going to move him. There's too many other options at third, whether it be Wisdom hitting home runs, then you hand it over to Morel maybe, but he can't play D like Madrigal. So impressed, and he keeps on doing it. Like, you think, oh, maybe he could, no, he keeps on doing it, and he actually is getting better. I mean, earlier, this week, in the first week of the season, he was brought in for defense for Morel. You never would have thought of that about Madrigal 2 years ago. So to move over to third, I remember his agent on the second day of spring training last year tell me, and of course it's his agent, so I take it with a grain of salt. He said he can do this. He played shortstop in college, and then there was an injury and moved him over to second. Not his injury. Someone else got hurt. He moved over to second. So, everyone's wondering, does he have the arm to play the left side? And he does. Now he has to really get into his throw, but he knows how to do it. Like, he knows the mechanics, the timing. He'll move quicker when he needs to. And certainly his glove has been really good. So I think he's almost better at third than second. You guys remember him with the White Sox at second being any sort of great defender?
No.
I think he's been better at third. Complete surprise by that. And I think you're right. He has a place on this team because of the way Morel has looked at third so far. Anything
about this team start surprise you, Jess?
I think what they're doing at the plate, it has to. Okay, so here's the stat of the year offensively in the first week in baseball. Remember, this is 2024, where strikeouts are still king. They have 39 walks to 43 strikeouts. So we're talking nearly a 1-to-1 walk to strikeout. I don't care if it's the first week of the season or not. That's impressive. 39 to 43. Just for comparison, the Dodgers have 43 walks and 94 strikeouts.
And to highlight your point, Jess, and we all were talking about this upstairs, the kid that was throwing for the Dodgers mowed him down in the first inning. And then I give the Cubs a tremendous amount of credit because everybody in that lineup going forward was patient at the plate and forced that young man to throw pitches. And ultimately, they chased him out of the game in the second inning.
Yeah, and he's a good prospect. Bobby Miller, he had a good first start. Yeah, they chased him out. They saw 162 pitches in 8 innings. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about a starter that goes the distance. He might throw 110 or something. This is 162 over the course of 8. One of the relievers threw 50 pitches. So impressive. 39 walks to 43 Ks. And just, again, to highlight that, no one is even close to 1-to-1 walks to strikeouts. I mean, Morel is 1-to-1. Think about that. Morel, the free swinger. So whatever they talked about in spring training, whatever they did last year is carried over, and there'll be ebbs and flows. But if they can I think Counsell even used the phrase, if this is their DNA, watch out offensively. Watch out when the weather turns, if this is their DNA. Now, we'll see over time. Things may change, but that is quite something, just even a week to be striking out and walking about the same.
Any buzz on Shohei and the investigation? Any buzz coming out of there today?
No, nothing today. I saw him in the clubhouse, but he didn't speak to reporters. And, I guess that's kind of the norm. This is his first road series, so everyone's kind of getting used to it. But no, there's been nothing from our investigative team new. I mean, everyone's wondering where and if and when criminal charges are going to be referred to whoever on the interpreter Ipe. Like, that's the next step. If this is all real and true, he should be under indictment or whatever the case may be. Now, it may take 6 months. I don't know. Or maybe swept under the rug. That's what we're trying to figure out, and our team is on. So if there's news, we will find out about it. But that's the big question. Is he going to be indicted for theft and all that jazz? And so far the answer is no, and we don't even know who's investigating it. And, and he just keeps going. He keeps hitting. I'll give him credit. He can separate. But, at some point this investigation is going to pop back up in the news.
And then did you hear about the controversy in L.A. for Ohtani's first home run ball?
Yeah, and we don't even have clarification on that. But go ahead.
Can you relay the story for those who don't know about it?
Yeah, I was talking to some Dodgers media. So he hits his first home run, and this woman catches it. First home run is a Dodger, and of course they want to trade that. That's a big home run. Probably people said were maybe worth $100,000. Well, they bring the wife and her husband inside, and they separate them. The Dodgers do, and they talk them into trading the ball. And I can't remember what it is exactly. Was it a couple of other balls in a jersey or something, a bat? I can't remember what it was, but it was nothing close to what the ball would be worth on the open market. People tell me usually you should trade something game worn from that night, like his jersey or bat from that night would also be worth something. And so they separated them and kind of coerced them into making that trade from apparently the media that were there. And that's where it stands. And then he said he talked to them, and maybe the interpreter got it wrong because he never did actually communicate with the person that caught the ball. So a lot of gray area there. That's the way I read it, and the way the Dodgers media told me about it today.
Yeah, they said they felt pressured and possibly swindled by the Dodgers security staff.
And the Dodgers security staff is notoriously they are notoriously aggressive. Like when I cover games, they're that side of they just have that in their DNA. So I'm not shocked to hear that about Dodgers security. I don't have proof of anything. I wasn't there, but there's something there that didn't sit right. I mean, how awful that moment it turns into a negative, and now there's a cloud over him over that as well.
Jeez. Hey, Jess, what's your assignment next Tuesday for the eclipse, and are you prepared to make sure that you're okay? Is it Monday?
Is it a Monday?
Yeah, Monday. The Cubs and Sox are both out of town next week. So
I'm sorry. On Monday, when the eclipse comes, Jess, what are you going to be doing?
I'm going to be looking up straight at the sky. Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
No. Don't do that.
That's what I saw our president do that a few years ago. I'm going to do that.
Don't be that way.
No, I'm definitely interested. Can we see it here and everything? Like, is it, what all that stuff? Like, it's fine up here. I didn't read anything about it.
We're not in like the total eclipse of the heart.
Okay.
But yes, you will be able to notice it.
Name the singer.
Okay.
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Someone who I will know too. Someone very big, right? Back then?
I don't know. I'm asking.
It wasn't Pat Benatar,
No,
was it?
It was not Pat Benatar.
Not Roxette, was it?
No, I don't think so.
Who is it?
Was it? I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll look it up in a minute. But yeah.
Get your glasses on.
You'll be able to view it, but you got to watch.
Bonnie Tyler.
Bonnie Tyler. We should have known that.
I never would have
She's
called.
a Hall of Famer.
Is she?
Yeah,
Bonnie Tyler is?
I don't know.
I didn't know that either.
You got to wear protective eyewear for the eclipse. Not your dumb sunglasses, your douchey sunglasses that you wear here in the studio.
Wow.
that I wear in Joe Madden's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One time Jesse doesn't wear sunglasses.
Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, it's awful cloudy today.
I will be staring up at the sky.
No, don't. And then I want to ask you this. We were trying to figure this out. Everyone knew it. We all knew it. It's such a White Sox move. We knew that when Eloy got hurt, that they would say we're not going to put him on the IL, and that 5 days later they would announce that he's going to go on the IL retroactively. And we knew that there was no benefit into seeing if he could come back before 10 days because this wasn't a player who like it's his first injury. This is a guy who's always hurt. This is a guy who has suffered lots of muscular injuries. This is not, oh, you have to win these games, because they're not competing for anything, and you're playing in cold weather. So it benefits you 0% to not put him, like, to not have him on the injured list from the start. There's no reason to not put him on the injured list.
All right, two things.
Okay,
and you're gonna love the first thing. I mean, okay, so now no, you're gonna love the second thing. The first thing is without with the new extra inning rules, teams are a little bit more willing to push it because they rarely run out of players. So that's one thing. But here's the other thing. Jerry Reinsdorf was able to save 5 days of a major league salary because he didn't have to pay the guy that they brought up. They brought up Robbie Grossman. They didn't have to pay him. Now they have to pay Robbie Grossman and Eloy his major league salary. So there you go. There's your answer.
We were debating that. Meller made that theory.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yes, and he said that, but we're like, could that really be the case? And you say yes, that is the case.
I say it could be the case. I absolutely say it could be the case because I'm telling you, they don't mind playing with a guy a little dinged up because they're just not using up their bench without the long extra innings. So why not save a few bucks? I absolutely could see that as at least part of the conversation.
It's so bad. So bad.
But so predictable.
Yeah. Can you, and I asked this question, have you ever and will you ever tell the story about Eloy now that both people are gone from each side of town?
Yeah. You mean the day after the trade, the Cub personnel telling me he'd always be hurt? Yeah, I'll tell that because you're right. The day after, and this is why it was telling because it had nothing to do with the hitting side. Chris Bosio, the former pitching coach of the Cubs, told me the day after the trade, that guy's always going to be hurt. I don't mind saying it now. And then in subsequent conversations, learning how, investigating a little bit, just people that were around him thought that he was built in a way that was a little brittle. I don't know how else to say it. Like the joints, the muscles, everything was just a little bit brittle. The Cubs noticed it when in spring training, he threw a ball from right field to home and threw out his shoulder. He threw out his shoulder throwing a baseball. And then there were other little things along the way that the Cubs noticed. And look, other people outside the Cubs said this to me as well, scouts that saw him, that didn't know his medicals, but made this assessment that he looked injury prone, whatever that means. But yes, Chris Bosio, the former pitching coach, told me that the day after the trade.
And then what happened? And then can you tell the other side of the story from when you voiced that?
I went on Mad Dog, Chris Russo's show on MLB Network, and basically said that. I tried to be kind. I don't like to call a guy injury prone, but it was almost factual at that point, right? If you're on the IL that much, by definition, you're injury prone. So I told that, and then later that day, Rick Hahn met the media, and without saying my name, was critical of someone that says he's injury prone and said it today on TV. Like he made it clear that it was me that he watched, and was very critical of me saying that. And I pushed back on it using the fact that he was on the IL so much. I can't get inside his body. Like I can't prove it necessarily, but it is something that was in the atmosphere out there. People thought that, and Rick pushed back on it, was upset with me for it, and I stand by it because Cubs personnel thought it.
Well, and it's
the most obvious, maybe the most obvious sports fact of all time, that he is injury prone.
Right.
And that's what they were more interested in doing. They were more worried about what narratives were instead of fixing issues or getting better as a team. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I've even since spring training, I think I mentioned to you maybe off the air, I've talked to former White Sox, even more, and they are so glad that they were traded last year. They were so glad that they were traded last year. And I do like what Chris is doing. It's starting over, though. It's building a whole new thing. It's like going back to the beginning of this last like you're back to the beginning again. You're rebuilding again. That's fine, but now it's years away from being competitive. And the last rain just screwed up massively in so many different areas. And you're right, fighting those kind of battles was one of them.
Craziness, yeah. Jesse, great stuff.
Good work,
okay,
Jess.
boys. Yep, have a good weekend. Talk to you. Go Iowa, by the way. Go
there
Iowa.
You go. Tonight, 8 o'clock, right?
Yep.
UConn, Iowa?
UConn, Iowa. If I was a good dad, she'd be in Cleveland right now for it. But
the tickets are all like astronomical.
Yeah, that's why I'm not a good dad. She's
You're
in
a
Iowa
great
City
dad.
watching.
Don't you sell yourself short, mister.
Thank you, Tommy.
How about
I needed that.
Jesse? This is from two of my buddies who I grew up with playing Little League Baseball. It's why I always say House League Baseball. We never called it House League Baseball, but Little League Baseball is the best. I'm still like great friends with them. They still listen to the show. We still get together. My buddy JJ says, love Jesse's interviews and talking Cubs. Jason responds, yep, this is great. Mentioned 2016. JJ says the holy grail of sports. And then Jason says Bonnie Tyler. So they were all in on the whole conversation.
All fields.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
So.
Well, I'm hoping this is the beginning of a special season for the Cubs. It'd be something if they keep this offense up. So we'll see.
All right. See you,
Thanks,
Jess.
Jess.
All right, boys. Talk to you next week.
Yeah, he
There.
referenced 2016 early on
You
in
caught
that
yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. Just
That's
flew
a high
right over
bar.
my head.
That's a high bar.
That is, yeah. That's a little bit of a high bar.